Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's All In Sunday, and have we got a show for you here on Wrestling Inc. We've got world title matches going the distance. We've got all sorts of backstage drama unfolding, and we even got an announcement for the biggest show ever. But before we get into all those little details, allow me to introduce the team. I'm Jack Farmer, being joined by the NYC Demon Diva, and making his debut. Mark it on your calendars. Note where you were when you saw it happen. Flobo Boyce is on Wrestling Inc. Flobo, how you feel?
I feel great. It's like a shock ending to an AEW pay-per-view, right? Hit my music.
Yeah, you're making your debut. Someone had to make a debut at the end of an AEW pay-per-view. Flobo, I guess you're as good as anyone could ask for.
Thanks.
Thanks. Issa, how are you doing? We've been chatting a whole bunch this week.
Yeah, we're practically best friends now, like MJF and Adam Cole. So I am excited to talk All In with you guys. I'm excited to have Flobo here. Never talk wrestling with Flobo, and I'm always looking for new friends to talk wrestling with. So I'm hyped.
Yeah, we have a lot of wrestling to get into. And as we do, as always, everyone who is in the chat, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Go ahead and just copy the link, throw it into social media, invite all of your friends over, and let them be a part of the conversation. Should be a fun one to chat about. Before we get into all the stuff that happened on the show, a big announcement was made. One, apparently they broke the record of attendance today, and they're going back next year, August 25th, All In, back in London. It's a yearly thing. Issa, this is big news. They're making it a regular trip over across the pond.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how they build. We'll see what they take from this experience and how they can improve it. But it's exciting, based on what we know they might have paid for Wembley, along with what the gate was. This was a very successful event for AEW money-wise. We'll talk about everything else as we get into it. But so I don't blame them for going back. I will do the same thing. Can they do it again? Can they repeat? That is the question.
That, Flobo, to that point, that's maybe even a bigger question than them coming over in the first place. Now, I do want to say when AEW announced this, there was rumors they won't be able to sell 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, and then excuses were made. But at the end of the day, again, people are going to nitpick whether or not this is the real biggest event or not. But 81,000, nothing to snuff your nose at. Snuff your nose at? Is that the phrase?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of times we sit and we wonder, what is AEW Starrcade, right? What is their bound for glory? I mean, every pay-per-view has been pretty strong, but it's hard to compete with going to a venue as large and as famous as Wembley and selling the place out and staking your claiming, saying, we're coming back here next year using the brand that put us on the map in the first place. I mean, this right here could be its biggest event if it's not already.
I mean, it definitely had a lot of that feeling that this was the biggest event that they've ever done. And I don't know if everyone saw the pre-show, so we won't get too far into that, but a few big things happened. We had the Ring of Honor tag team titles, Adam Cole and MJF. They won those. And
that didn't go the way I thought it would. But yes.
I don't think it went the way a lot of people thought it was going to. But also, Hook regained the FTW championship. And Mercedes Moné was in attendance with the old pal of Flobo and ours, Kevin O'Degaro, sitting next to her from AfterBuzz TV. Very random for us two. But
absolutely.
Flobo, I want to talk to you about what it means that Mercedes was there. And also, I don't know if you've seen it. We like to talk about news before we get into the show. There's some scuttlebutt that apparently there was an altercation between CM
No, don't say it. Make him guess. You should have made him guess to see if he would have said CM Punk right away.
I was just saying that with some friends. I feel like if you just said, hey, there was some drama backstage at a wrestling show, guess who was involved? Who's the first thing you would guess?
That's CM Punk.
But apparently there was there was a altercation between Jack Perry and CM Punk. Miro later said that it's not true, leading to what I always like to say is I'm not going to listen to it. But what do you think about all this, Flobo?
Man, what about CM Punk and Backstage altercations? Well, you're going to have so many days left in the calendar to have shows about. Look, I don't necessarily like to listen to rumors and conjecture, but if I had to guess, to Isa's point, I would have guessed CM Punk. But I do think that Jack Perry is an odd target to get into a scuttlebutt or flim flam with, right? What would be the pretense for that to happen?
Yeah, apparently this is what the story's saying. I again, anything with backstage stuff with CM Punk at this point, I just go, whatever. It's very Bash at the Beach, Hulk Hogan, very Montreal screw job to me. I'm just going to pretend I have no idea what's going on. But apparently they got into an argument about whether or not some glass should be used in the segment. And then today on the pre-show, for those who saw it, they got slammed into a car windshield, and he said, "Real glass."
Real glass. I kind of popped for that. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
So kind of rubbing it in CM Punk's face. If that's the case, again, I don't know. I don't know if any of this is real. It does feel like one name seems to come up all the time, though, when there's drama involved, for good or bad. But again, it's hard. Isa, I want to be like, to your point, like, gosh, this guy's always a problem. But at the same time, like, do I even believe what these reports are saying? I don't even know if I do.
I don't know what to think or what to believe. So I'm going to try to ignore it until we get more details. But I'm not surprised that it's Punk. And we heard about him having altercations with Jungle Boy to Man Perry before. So we'll see where it goes. But I just don't think it's the day for it.
Yeah. We'll see as that story unfolds. Let us know in the chat what you guys thought of the show overall. Before we get going, though, into the actual show, into the actual breakdown, everyone say hello to Flobo Boyce. I want to see it in the chat here. But I also want to, again, remind everyone, like, comment, share, subscribe, and shout out to everyone who's joining us in the live chat. We've got Isa, not a fan of Flobo Boyce.
Apparently. I said.
Sorry.
Say hello to Peace.
He's like, I don't need this guy.
Terrible timing for my internet to be weird. I apologize.
If you're glad to see Flobo,
all right, let's leave. Yeah.
But shout out to everyone in the chat. MDB999. We got Steve B, Tony in the chat. The GIF King, Dylan Matthews showing up. Patricia Rose. We got Max Feldman, Corey Pride. We've got Huffman in that chat. We got Lulu in the chat. I haven't seen you before, Lulu. Thanks for swinging by. A lot of other folks as well. Lego Brick Collector. Good to see you all. Let's chat about some All In. Let's get into the actual show. Why don't we? Speaking of the drama king himself, CM Punk defends the, quote, real world title against Samoa Joe. Punk gets bloodied up. He pays tribute to Hulk Hogan and Terry Funk. We get a top rope Pepsi plunge to seal the deal. Punk retains. Flobo, you're new, so I'm going to start this with you.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the, quote, real world title situation? And was this the right move for CM Punk to get the win over Samoa Joe?
Now, call me a purist. You know, I like my titles to be sanctioned. You know what I mean? I'm running on thin ice with the FTW championship to begin with, but Punk does it in such a way that makes you go, all right, I'll see you. I see it. And if you're Samoa Joe, you want to shut up somebody, why not beat them on the home turf? So I was on board with this matchup. I like the idea of the matchup, but seeing the AEW title with an NWO like X on it just makes me ugh. You know what I mean? But you know that, Jack. I've been that way for years. Back when the title on the other show was wood, I was upset. You know, let alone having one that's been defaced by spray paint.
I will not have you besmirch the global title. But Issa, yeah, this is, I mean, in a world where we get crabby about interim championships and too many titles on the company brand, we've got a real world title now. And CM Punk retains, again, getting the win. Did you like how this turned out? And what's next for Samoa Joe?
I like the match. I like that they opened with a banger. I thought that name value wise, it was the right choice and the right call to open. I did think it was a little bit slower pace than what I anticipated. There was one spot in there where Samoa Joe basically put Punk through the table, and the way that it broke was just so shocking. I wasn't expecting the table to give way like that. It was a legit shock. The ending felt very anticlimactic for me. It came out of nowhere. Samoa Joe was dominating the entire match, and then all of a sudden, CM Punk hits a Pepsi plunge, boom, he wins. So that threw me off. I do think that there is a money match waiting to be made, unifying these titles with CM Punk and MJF, because that's where we were heading before all the drama happened. So I'm okay if that's the direction that we're going. If it's not, and he's just gonna carry this title, I don't know, because I believe he's head of HR, so he might have sanctioned the title, and we don't know.
CM Punk, head of HR. He needs to get a shirt that says that. He's handling things very differently than Toby in The Office did. That's for sure. If that's the role. Here's my thing is, I get it. I get why everything went the way it did. I'm sick of seeing Samoa Joe take L's, you guys. Samoa Joe is, and this goes beyond AEW. I mean, I feel like this goes back even to WWE time. This guy feels like world championship guy to me, but he's always the guy, kind of that Kurt Hennig, the guy that loses to the stars. And Samoa Joe deserves better, I think.
Oh, I'm with you 100%. You know, like I'm a Star Trek nerd, and there's something called the Worf effect, where like you will have the bad guy that we beat up the toughest guy in the room, Worf, to show how strong they were, but it was always the same guy beating up the same guy every week. You're like, come on, Worf, fight for yourself. When that Pepsi plunge happened, I was telling you this via text. I said, all right, Jack, it's kind of an old school move from Punk's Arsenal. There's got to be a way Joe's going to kick out of that. Joe, you kicking out of that? Joe? Snake! It was the most weirdest thing I've ever seen.
That's where I was at. I was like, how are you dominating the entire match, and this one move that he gets on you takes you down? Like, it doesn't make sense from even the psychological storytelling of the match. It didn't make any sense. It just came kind of out of nowhere. I love Samoa Joe, but I agree. I do think he deserves more. I mean, when he did leave WWE, he was NXT World Champ. He was great in NXT.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Oh yeah, no, I never said he was.
NXT Samoa Joe was it. Main roster Samoa Joe, great bangers, but he always lost. You're absolutely right.
Hey, and that beginning of his run in TNA too was golden as well. But yeah, unfortunately, Joe, I will say this. I know sometimes this show will talk about the near falls situation, I'm sure later, but this is what I just thought he was going to kick out. So yeah, when he got the 3, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. I was waiting for that like near fall or two, but it is what it is. I think at the end of the day, the outcome is what we all expected anyway. So it's fine. I'm not a fan of the real world title situation personally too. So a lot of stuff made me go,
care to expound, brother? Why are you not a fan?
It feels like it just muddies the waters on a show that already has too many titles.
Wow.
The world has already known this has too many titles, but now there's 2 world titles. I don't know. Just not a fan of it. Not a fan of it. But we get to the next matchup as we have a 6-man tag. It is Jay White, Juice Robinson, and Takeshita versus Adam Page, Kenny Omega, and Ibushi. We get a lot of fun moments, but it comes down to Takeshita and Omega. The Guns get involved. Lots of big moves. Takeshita pins Omega. Issa, this was a big win for Takeshita, and it was a fun match. It feels like this was really just leading to the eventual one-on-one for Takeshita and Omega, though.
This is my least favorite thing on the card, Farmer. I guess we're finally back to disagreeing. Because you don't pin Kenny Omega. First of all, Kenny Omega should have been on a singles match tonight. Let's just start by that. I'm not letting that go. Kenny Omega should have been on a singles match. He's a star. AEW managed to make him feel like one of the guys, and then you put him in this match where he feels like one of the guys, and he takes the pin like he's just one of the guys. I hated this. I hated everything about this.
I will say I agree with you in the sense that Kenny Omega should be in singles matches, 100%. And I mean, as I was watching this, thinking, I think Kenny Omega versus Jay White would have felt like a bigger deal.
Yes, I said the same thing. Okay,
both
we're
of
back
these.
On the same page.
And I mean, even the story of, I feel like sometimes AEW gets a little, they get muddy with things too often. And I feel like it's a word I use a lot with them. But like, this could have even been Bullet Club Elite versus Bullet Club Gold, but they kind of muddied that up too because it wasn't quite that either, and it wasn't billed as that either. It could have been an era versus era thing. It could have been a lot of different things, but it really turned out to be, it felt like a setup, Flobo, for what's an eventual singles match. But this was the biggest show wrestling's ever had, and they had their biggest star in a setup match.
It did feel really set up, and I thought it was from commentary. They just kept underscoring the fact that Rick Knox had his hands full. Rick Knox loses control. So, well, maybe some level of shenanigans there where you would have to run it back, but it seemed pretty decisive here, set up or otherwise. To Isa's point, it was Kenny Omega talking about taking too many L's for a guy. Here you go. Here's another opportunity right there live on pay-per-view where Kenny Omega's looking up the lights. So looking back on it, that one left a bad taste in my mouth, but going into it was pretty fun. We had a lot of good exchanges. I mean, you got Ibushi being the world's oldest teenager. What is like 21 going on 50? I mean, it was fun to watch. Just I hate the way how it ended.
It is. I love that you said it is very hard if you didn't know wI was. If you just said, "Hey, how old is this guy?" I think you get a very wide range of guesses if people didn't know who he was. But I think as a match, it was fun to watch. Like if this was a Dynamite main event, I'd have had a blast. And I'd be like, "This is awesome." But it is just that this is your biggest show you've ever done, and this is your biggest star, Kenny Omega. I think really your Undertaker in a lot of ways. You're a guy that the other guys have never had, the one that's mystical, that everyone wonders what it would have been like if you had him. He is that guy, and he's buried in a 6-man tag match.
Wow. I think I asked you this over text a couple days ago because that's what we do. We gossip like high schoolers. But is there a way to rehabilitate that? Can you bring back Kenny Omega to being that attraction? It felt like the cleaner about a year and a half ago was on that way, but that kind of got pushed aside. Can we restart that? Is that possible?
I think it's easy to. You just got to use him less, but in bigger spots. I always say give him the Brock Lesnar, where you take him off TV and then you have a big name talking trash and Kenny Omega's music hits and everyone goes, oh man, now this is going to go down. They have their match, their big show match. And then if he's a champion, maybe he hangs out a little bit every now and again, or he disappears until the next big match. And you only use him in these big moments, in big singles matches that are going to be big money moments. But there are so many guys on that roster that are so good that we haven't seen Kenny Omega against in singles matches. And it kind of blows my mind that we have those, and some of them are coming and going, like Cody Rhodes, that I think we're going to look back on if we don't start getting those soon, going, why didn't we take advantage of this?
Absolutely. The window isn't forever.
And then one thing, though, that really struck me, this kind of took me out of it. I think I would have enjoyed this matchup more, and far be it from me to argue with a absolute legend, but I felt like JR could not have hated this match anymore on commentary. Did you notice this? It felt like every single thing about it, he was just constantly like undercutting the whole time.
Yeah, I don't really know what was going on with JR there. I mean, there was a lot of action going on. I get that. I'm not really sure if he had a direct eye line on the monitors, but it did seem like it was almost too much going on. Now, he's not doing moves and holds. That's Excalibur's job, but he's not doing the classic JR-isms we're coming used to. So he has to bring a fresh take. But the level of frustration definitely was building on throughout this matchup. But in his defense, I was taking my notes. I looked down to type and I was like, wait, how's that guy on that side of the ring now? It was really fast. And that's a good thing because you want to be able, if you're watching it full on, to get yourself part of that experience as well. Just so kind of sad that JR was the collateral damage, if you will.
I think when it comes to, look, this is the stuff that when I look at AEW is, I think certain people watch certain wrestling, whether it be WWE or whatever, and if it's not like that, they feel like it's wrong. And Corey, to your point, real quick, whereas Issa's having some internet issues, she's restarting. She'll be back in a minute. I think of it like it's like a lot of things people complain about, like the way the refs handle tag team matches or certain things like that in AEW. It's like if I watched NWA and every single week complain that it feels too old school. Like that's what it is. That's right. What you're watching. This is what this show is. Like at some point you need to say, I get it. Maybe that's not my thing, and that's fair, but that's what this show is. The tag team matches are going to be hectic. The, tags aren't maybe going to be as clean as other shows or whatever, but like, and it's okay to say it once or twice, hey, I don't like this. But at some point, that's what this show is. Like, I can't get mad at Marvel because how come there's all these superheroes?
Right. Yeah. Why they're telling jokes when things are happening to the planet? Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
That's the brand.
So at that point, I get a little bit like, what are we watching here? So Issa, so upset about what happened with Kenny Omega, refused to stay on the rest of the conversation.
I came back because I say if I don't finish, I don't get paid. So I guess I'll finish.
That should be a t-shirt.
Yes.
Well, fine. You got me. I'll come back.
Yes. So we have FTR versus the Young Bucks, and it's
fun.
A lot of classic near falls. Ends with FTR retaining and being the best tag team in the world. No post-match handshake. Issa, this is a rivalry I absolutely love because these are two teams that 100% want and believe they are the best tag team of all time, but they are so different at the same time. I feel like I just love every interaction these guys have. What say you?
Same, and they have given us classic the 2 other times we saw them face, so I think it only makes sense to see the rubber match. I'm glad there was a part of me that wanted to see it so long ago, and I'm glad they waited to see it in this big stage, larger than live show, because they do deserve that stage. I like the match. They always put on bangers. I had so much fun watching this. And I love that at the end, that arrogance from the Young Bucks. They lost, but they still would not show that respect to FTR, staying in character, staying in track. I thought this was very well done and executed. And it's just one of those times when those two teams come out, you just sit back, grab your snack, because you're in for a treat. That's just what they do.
Yeah, I thought what I love about these two teams too is because they're so different. It's very easy to say this is the team I like and this is the team I don't like, and you can really get into it.
Flobo, had a fun debate about that on my chat. I do live watch-alongs, as you know, and me and the chat were going back and forth. We were literally 50-50. Some of us were Young Bucks, some people like FTR, and it was a fun debate.
And that's the most fun part about pro wrestling, I think. Flobo, I know you have strong opinions on these teams. How did you feel about this? And do you think it was the right call? And I guess I'll just preface, I like both teams, but I kind of felt like Young Bucks needed it more personally. But what about you?
The Young Bucks needed it more, but I'm so glad FTR retained. Before we get into the match, I just want to say this is the third match in the card. This is really the first match to me where it felt like things were solved, right? Here at All In. So it was really the first planting the flag. I was enthralled. These four are good dance partners. You know what I mean? The Young Bucks are one of my least favorite tag teams in all of professional wrestling. I'm just trying to be as truthful up front of here. I'm giving you all my biases up front. I don't think of best tag teams. If that's your tag team, I don't knock it. But I know deep down I'm an FTR guy. But the fact is, these guys are so good at brawling, and they're so good at switched up styles. All four men, they really do make magic together. And was it the right call? I'm going to say yeah. And the reason being is I'm not sure we're peeling back the curtain. I'm sure you've heard about some of the dirt sheet rumors about the FTR. And so I think everyone thought it would be one direction. So why not give everyone the other direction? So I was happy all around.
One Direction. You don't know you're beautiful. Anyways. So here's the thing. For me, the Young Bucks weren't my favorite team for a long time. And they rubbed me the wrong way too. But I found myself so often saying, this is like, they have match of the night so many times. Like, that was my favorite match so many times. Eventually, you know what? I like these guys. I just want to hate them for some reason. So now I'm a fan of theirs. But I also really enjoy FTR. So these guys' rivalry, I hope we get to see it again. But like Issa, like you said, I absolutely love that they didn't shake hands at the end, because again, I think sometimes in pro wrestling we forget that these guys are supposed to hate each other, and like sometimes people just give into the moment, shake hands, we're good, but no, they hate each other. They'd never shake their hands.
Correct. That's I didn't want to see any show of respect. I was screaming. I was screaming on my iPad. I'm like, do not shake their hands, because I do expect these two teams to feud forever. That's what I expect. No matter who wins how many, I still think that those teams walk out of there thinking, no, we're the best tag teams, and I need this rivalry to be a forever thing. So I'm okay with them not showing respect and keep it going. Fight forever.
Issa, what's next for the Young Bucks?
That's a great question, because I did think, and again, I found myself rooting for the Young Bucks today. I think they needed this win more, but I'm glad that they let FTR retain. It's a weird, like, I have a weird conflicted feeling on this, on how this goes. I have no idea. And especially with FTR showing up on Collision a lot more. I don't know what you do with the Young Bucks, but hey, we have a pay-per-view next week, so they better figure it out real quick.
Yeah, I have a feeling Wednesday is going to be a wild episode. But we move on to the wildest part of the night, possibly. Blackpool Combat Club and Santana and Ortiz versus the Best Friends, Eddie Kingston and Pentagon. We got skewers, we got cool outfits, Mox versus Orange Cassidy, Kingston versus Claudio, Sue in a minivan, Penta doing a wardrobe change halfway through.
For no reason whatsoever, yes.
For no reason. Kingston going berserker on the Blackpool Combat Club, OC getting his hands covered in glass and getting the win for his team. Flobo, Blackpool Combat Club, for being as dangerous as they are, seems to be like they are taking a lot of L's lately. Are they done?
That's a loaded question. I was like, oh, also not a big deal. Are they done?
Do you like how I slipped that in?
Yeah, you did slip it. I was like, oh, that's an easy one. Oh, wait, that's a curveball. To answer your question, they are not done, but they're on life support. And the reason was what you were saying, right? Like, you think about a year ago, they lost. The reason why they're called Blackpool Combat Club, I always felt like, okay, that was the glue for guys like Wheeler Yuta at the fringe of that group. And now with the losses on top of that, it started to be too much. I respect Orange Cassidy. I understand if someone punched me in the face with a spiked classic love, I'll be out all day too. But that to me is really one of the first victories first losses for Blackpool Combat Club. I went, okay. But the more pressing question is, does Sue have vans all over the world? Does she like fly in, or do they provide her with a van? I was so confused with that.
Yeah, Sue has a huge network of vans all over the world, white vans. But Issa, I know you love violence and carnage and blood and all that good stuff. Who was your bloody MVP of this match?
Man, no pun intended, but it was Moxley. At the end of this, they put the camera on him. He has something hanging from his freaking eye, some kind of tissue, something. It was disturbing. Yes, literally my face. But that's what you expect from Mox, right? If Mox is gonna take on this persona of I bleed all the time and I'm just a crazy mofo, this is the Mox that I like to see. I had so much fun watching this match. I'm slightly confused by the change of outfits, but then I realized if I ever wrestle, I want that gimmick where I can just change outfits halfway through my match, just to show two different outfits. I don't even care if I win or lose. And then after he changed to red, we don't know where he went. Speaking of the outfit change, that spot was scary when that ladder broke, and these two guys still went up there and did the spot. I was like, this crazy mo. Like they were all over Wembley. It was such a good visual. I gotta give a shout out to production, because other like Anarchy in the Arena and other stadium stampedes, you feel two all over the place. You don't know where to focus. I thought they did a better job this time at keeping the window and switching to one window when they needed to, and it wasn't I can't keep track of what's going on where. It felt like organized chaos in the way that they presented it on TV, and that's not something that they done before, so I had to give them all the credits. But yeah, my MVP here, even though they lost, he has to be Moxley. Like, this guy looked, and you know what? Orange Cassidy, if I had to pick one from each team, we never seen Orange Cassidy that we saw today. Him walking out just looking so destroyed. His matches are, well, they're great. They're technically great. You never see this like angry, violent side of him. And even when they announced him, he succeeded my expectation, because when they say Orange Cassidy in a stadium stampede, I was like, well, that's going to be boring, you know? So I'm very glad that everybody came in and stepped up. I had a lot of fun watching this, so much fun, but I love violence. You know that.
Right. No, this was right up your alley. This was, I thought actually this was probably like a typical Sunday for you, watching all the violence.
Yeah, Saturday night in Puerto Rico when I covered the local events. Yeah. Go watch my last vlog I posted on my channel. I had a wrestler chase me with the skewer stick. So yeah, that's how it goes.
The skewers, I can't do the skewers.
Yeah, I rather do light bulbs all day than skewers, man.
I will say that I am chomping at the bit for a John Moxley Orange Cassidy rivalry now. I want to see that.
That's where we're going, and I think they had to give finally give us the Eddie Kingston and Claudio. They were going at it this entire match. It needs to happen.
Yeah,
Flobo, I said on Twitter, I wanted to get your opinion, because I know you know comic books and things like that. I think Eddie Kingston is the pro wrestling Wolverine. I mean, he can take a bunch of damage. He goes through a lot of emotional issues, but he keeps fighting, talking trash, and you can't put him down.
Absolutely. Like the power is talking smack. And it's funny because like growing up, I grew up with guys like that. I mean, he's from Yonkers, but you grow up with guys like that. We'll talk all this game, get their butt kicked, and come back the next week like, yo, you didn't kill me. And I think that's the best kind of character because after a while, you're like, you have to root for a guy who says, look, I'm going to lose this. I'm taking out at least 3 or 4 of you on the way down. So yeah, man, he is Wolverine.
When he does anything he does, I'm just like, here we go. Like, I feel like he could be like, hey, we're all going bowling. And he'd walk up to grab the ball. And I'm like, here we go. Something's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Eddie Kingston's just a treasure, I think, in pro wrestling. And wrestling's better for it. And Issa, I want to get you to talk about one more thing here about this part of the show. Santana and Ortiz are back, baby. They're one of my favorite teams in AEW. And it was just great to see them out there. And clearly, well, they went in 100%. I don't know how they are now, but they went into the match 100%, which is great.
When they did that spot, him and Penta was like, God, we're going to lose Santana again. He just came back and he's probably already gone again. There was a couple of spots where we saw them work together and I just couldn't help but smile from ear to ear because I did want to see them come back. I did want to see them in the same page. I thought they looked great tonight. And I thought the Santana was hype. You could just tell he missed it. You could just tell he couldn't wait to come back from the entrance to the way he wrestled the entire time. You could tell he was on. And I'm very happy to see them back. Hopefully, hey, you said what's next for the Young Bucks. There you go.
I mean, that would be a rivalry I'd love to see. I think those guys could be good. By the way, you mentioned the ladder a few times now. And I just got to say, people take ladders for granted when they're watching these things. Anyone who's climbed a ladder, even just in general, like to change a light bulb, like we all like go through a few extra paces to make sure it's nice and level and it's not going to move around. And then you see these ones that they're climbing that are breaking and falling apart. There's no way I would climb that ladder. It's crazy. I don't know.
Oh yeah, and I can't get mad at anyone who takes their time climbing a ladder anymore. Right. They can have a briefcase or something like that. Yeah. I take my time as well. You know.
Right. Oh yeah. If I was in a Money in the Bank match, I just go, oh, I'm not going to win.
Why even try?
Oh, no, I'm not climbing up there. No way. Unless you lower the thing. Lower the thing. I'm not.
Wow.
I love that you bring that up because you always get the climb.
White glove service.
Yeah. You always get the people complaining like these wrestlers need to climb faster, and he's like, "Let me see you do it. Let's see how fast you climb one of these ladders." You don't. We all climb them like this, so leave them alone.
Yeah. No.
I actually think it's more realistic that way.
Yeah. And the ring is in solid ground.
Yeah, and especially if you were like, especially the times they climb up knowing they're gonna go like get yanked off of it, like climb a ladder one day and just know someone's gonna push it out from underneath you. Like, yeah, I wouldn't climb either. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Ladder matches, crazy.
Change your own light bulbs. I'm out.
Ladder matches and skewers. That's the new name of the Extreme pay-per-view, ladder matches and skewers. We had a 4-way match for the AEW Championship. Saraya versus Toni Storm versus Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida. Saraya comes out to Queen with her family. Outcasts work together until a pin attempt. Then, of course, Toni Storm accidentally hits Saraya's mom, I believe. Ruby Soho.
What a mistake he made.
Ruby Soho tries to help out. She gets hit by Toni Storm as well. Match ends with Britt trying to get the lockjaw on Shida while Saraya sprays Toni Storm and gets the pin. Saraya is your new world champion. Flobo, I'm torn on this because a hometown girl wins. Feels good moment for everyone there. But at the same time, I feel like Shida got thrown under the bus a little bit.
This match here was almost like a hurricane. It's like things happen that make sense. New women's champ, hometown woman, like after attacking your family, like Fast and Furious, all makes sense. But it kind of came and went. Shida was getting into her stride. I actually saw an interview with you and her on Wrestling Inc. I mean, and that's when you know the champ is really there. I get to be on Wrestling Inc. in one of those interviews. So I thought she was going to retain, to be honest with you, going into this one. I'm not mad with Saraya winning, but the way it was kind of like wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. It was quick, and it was quick as a hiccup, as they said, and it was kind of like on to the next one. So to answer your question, maybe she could take it the short end of the stick.
Yeah. We got Corey Pride with the super chat. Thank you, Corey. Says Saraya, her moment was everything. Happy for her. Issa, do you agree?
Oh, 1000%. I was kind of wishing that this moment would happen. And then you saw that entrance, her with the family, Queen. How can you not root for her? Even if you weren't going into the match rooting for her, it's like, oh my God, let her have the moment. The one thing that I question is maybe me overanalyzing is what we do. I thought that
Yeah.
they put the title on Sheeta so Saraya wouldn't have to win it from Tony Storm, being part of the Outcast. But you
Hmm.
broke up the Outcast during the match. So did we need the Sheeta short title reign here? If you were gonna break up the Outcast, you could have had Saraya pin Tony Storm. I also do not see Saraya being a long-term champion here. I think this is one of those times that wrestling took an opportunity to create a moment, and I think it was the right thing to do. I don't see her being a long-term champion. I think a lot of criticism from other companies not taking advantage of the home moment that you can create, and AEW did that, and I give them all of the credits. I thought this was beautifully done. But yeah, I have a lot of questions in regards to why put the belt on Sheeta for this short period of time. Like, why break up the Outcast? Like, I just have maybe not executed to perfection, but it was a beautiful moment. It was a beautiful entrance, and I'm so happy for her.
Yeah, Flobo, do you think Saraya is going to be the champ for a while, or do you think this was just so they could have their hometown hero?
What would we consider a while? 3 months, 4 months, 6 months?
Uh, through she'll retain, not at All In, but whatever the next
Yeah,
paper.
No,
I
she
think.
probably won't even defend it there, honestly.
Yeah,
Even
I
the
think
TBS,
so.
the women only get one match, so we already got the TBS championship up.
I mean, I mean, Issa's not wrong. I think she's gonna hell of a couple months. It makes the most sense if you're going to do a reset. I mean, Sheeta was a formidable champ, but definitely takes me back to the pandemic era. Can we say that? So if you're going to have a fresh start, you're going to have that story with Tony Storm already built in. That has to be built up. And again, with as little time per episode we get these stories, it may go on for months.
Does that kind of bottleneck the women's division even more, though? I mean, the Outcasts were sort of dominating everything, but now they literally will be the entire story.
I would say no. I think that opens up a lot more time for other, because also the TBS division as well, and you also have to bring up the next crop of competitors. But it is something that you should be very cautious about, because if you're not careful, then it can become everything, and it's like, oh wait, great, get on with it.
They
Yeah,
have got to start turning things around with the women's division. We saw a lot of showing on Mercedes tonight. I don't know what that means, but if that means something for AEW, they have to do something different. The women got barely any reactions, including DMD, and I was even shocked at how quiet the reaction for Britt Baker. Tony Storm got no reaction if you paid attention to that, and DMD,
Yeah.
who used to get the loudest pops, like got a decent reaction, but nothing like what you would expect. And I just feel like if that doesn't take you to, we really need to do something. You pull at the heartstrings with Saraya. We all knew she was gonna get that kind of pop, but the three women that follow barely got a reaction, and that is it shows you the state of the AW women's division, and we need to change things around.
yeah, they do need to give them more time, I think, and more consistent time. And like I said, I think with the Outcasts, you got to start having people who aren't the Outcasts getting win all the time. Like, you've got people like Willow who are ready to explode as far as popularity goes. Sky Blue seems to be very popular as well.
Yeah,
Plus the people who've
definitely.
been there for a long time, who I think they can start utilizing. But you got to start giving these wrestlers more time on Dynamite getting wins, as opposed to, I mean, I get that maybe they have matches on Rampage or whatever, but it's got to be on Dynamite. Dynamite's the flagship. If it's not happening on Dynamite, it doesn't feel the same. And so I agree. I think because Britt Baker, even seeing her out there, it felt a little bit like, what has she done lately? And I don't mean that mean to her. I mean, like, what was her last match? When did she, like, what's
I
her?
did like the promo that she cut in the video package, which again, shout out to their production. Is getting so much better. I mean, they've been around for 4 years now. They're learning, but the video packages hyping up the matches felt very almost WWE like, in the way that if you don't watch the stories and you're just tuning in for the pay-per-view, the video packages will make you be invested. And I love the fact that Bray cut a promo where she was like, hey, I tried to take a step back and let somebody else stepped up, but nobody did. And now I'm going to come back and try to get what's mine. Like, I really love the idea of Britt saying, hey, I try to give these women a chance and they're not doing it. But yeah, it doesn't feel like Britt has done anything significant in such a long period of time. And I will say, she's the only woman that was getting the kind of reactions that she was getting, and you completely killed that too. There's no reactions for Britt anymore, not like what she used to get. If you've been watching AW as long as we have, you remember those days that the arena will go crazy. It doesn't feel that way now when she comes out.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's going to be hard for me to objectively judge this, I was really rooting for Hikaru Shida. So I was really bummed out she lost. I was really hoping that she'd get the win here. I think we all knew Saraya was getting the win when she came out to Queen and like her family was there. And
when the family came out, that got me. That got me.
I was like, okay, she's winning. I do like Toni Storm's character, though. I want to talk about that before we move on. This almost like old Hollywood kind of vibe she has now. With I don't know, I like this direction she's going. It's a little different. It's fun. I like it. I'm a fan of where Toni Storm's going with this.
You said old Hollywood. I had Mariah Carey in my notes, but I guess it's kind of the same thing. Yeah,
I got Marilyn Monroe. I'm with Jack.
Okay,
I get Marilyn Monroe vibes. The robe that she wore and the hair, it gave me old Hollywood vibes. Yes.
Yeah. So I win, Flobo.
Of course you do. Jack always wins. Whatever show we do together, Jack always wins.
That's why me and Issa are friends again.
I was waiting for the super kick, but who's going to throw it?
That's the question. Do you think, last thing on this, I said last thing already, but Issa, will throw it to you. Should we expect Mercedes in AEW to have a match in AEW after all the time she got on screen?
We'll see. I mean, I don't think that she posts what she posted and then you show her that many times. I did find it extremely odd that they kept showing her during the trios titles and not one time during the women's championship match. Maybe she went to get a snack. Like, I'm trying to confuse where she was during this, because that's when you should have shown her. But if she does, I can't help but to really secure maybe some kind of contract where she has a little bit of creative control, just because it's just the state of the women's division. I wouldn't put too much trust on letting somebody else book her, and she's got all the star power that they need. It concerns me. And this is not just a women's thing. If somebody else was to debut right now, would probably have the same concerns, even on a singles males division, just because things are so shaky. But yeah, I mean, I think that will be a perfect thing. And I know that her and Saraya have been very open about wanting to do something together. So you never know.
Well, this is one of my favorite parts of the show, and it was we got Swerve and Christian teaming up to take on Sting and Darby. Whose house? We also got Seek and Destroy coming back. Prince Nana dancing, one of my favorite things. Nick Wayne and Luchasaurus have a fight. Darby just eats a coffin, and Swerve takes a little too long to put Sting away before eventually Darby and Sting beat Swerve and break his fingers, it looks like, before slamming him in the coffin. Issa, maybe this is my opinion. You correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like this is the best character work Christian has ever done.
Oh, 1000%. Going after the fatherless kids. Yes. This is it. He is so good that I don't have time to watch Collision. I typically cover live events on Saturdays, so I don't watch Collision. Up until my chat told me today, I thought Christian was the TNT champion. I'm dead serious. And then they put out the graphic of Luchasaurus versus Darby at All Out for the TNT championship, and I'm like, wait, why is he like? I'm like, what is happening? I love everything that Christian Cage is doing. I love the promos. I love the heat. One of the best heels in wrestling right now, without a doubt. And the turtleneck. What a troll. What a freaking troll.
The sleeveless turtleneck is the most diabolical thing that has ever happened. Ever. Bar none.
Gotta ventilate.
Pick whatever you want in history. It's the sleeveless turtleneck is the worst thing that's happened to humanity.
1000%.
Flobo, you've been a fan of Christian for a long time. And so you must love the fact that he is actually crushing it, between not actually being the TNT champion, but acting like he is. And obviously his work here, but also talk to me a little bit about something I think AEW does really well, which is the nostalgia and having guys like Sting come out to Seek and Destroy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we get to start of that, I just want to say the disrespect the crowd had for not knowing about Flash Garments and DJ Who Kid. They're legends. It's hip hop, baby. What's going on with y'all? But to answer your question, yeah, about the character work that Christian's done is really great, and the throwback vibe, right? So you have things for newer fans, you have things for the older fans. And what I liked about AEW is they find a way to balance them in the same match, right? When I was a kid sitting down watching, I think Bob Backlund's returns for my dad, but for me it was first time seeing it. I'm sure there's some kids now, preteens now watching Who's This Sting guy, and their cousins saying, oh, back when I was a kid, back when I was your age, we having this guy used to do the same thing he did 35 years ago, like jumping into tables and knocking people into caskets. So I love this one here. It's a fun match. I am with you. I thought Swerve broke like 3 or 4 fingers, but I love the fact that it's old versus new.
I love Prince Nana and his dancing. He makes that, he does so much with that entrance. It's exactly what a manager should do, where he just makes everything seem better without actually taking any of the spotlight from any of the people he's working with. But for some reason, when he's out there dancing around or like getting hit with stinger splashes and stuff, you're like, this is fantastic. Prince Nana, I think, deserves an award for that. I'm a big believer, Issa. I think Swerve is a future superstar. I thought the crowd was absolutely into him tonight. What's your ceiling on Swerve? Do you think he could get all the way to the top, or do you think he's a mid-level guy? Where do you see Swerve going?
I think he could get all the way to the top, but you got to start booking him in feuds that he can actually win. With Sting not performing in the UK for so long, I never thought in a million years that Sting would lose this match. So it's like, why put him against somebody that is on the up and coming? And Swerve got that crazy entrance. So yeah, I would like to see him go into a feud or two that he can actually win. But this was fun, feel good. I love the full finishes with like Sting even keeping the coffin open with the bat pop for that. My God, when Darby took that coffin drop and landed right on the coffin, and then commentary is like, oh, it's a coffin flop. I'm like, bro, too soon. This man is dead on top of this coffin and you're making fun of him.
That was my second favorite line of that match. The best line was Nigel McGuinness when they were about to put Christian into the coffin, and Nigel McGuinness says, I can't remember the exact line, but it was like, stop it, he's a father. After all the trash that Christian has done to other people's dads, he's a father, stop that.
Decency of it all
was my absolute favorite thing. But I didn't
think they did Nick Wayne any favors tonight. I thought he looked a little I don't know, him coming out to try to make the save and getting beat up, it didn't make a lot of sense.
It was, I agree with you. I think it in matches, I think it's okay if you get beat up a lot, because you can look tough, where this just made it look like, what are you doing, kid? You just ran out here and got flattened. Stay in the back.
Yeah, like, stay in the back. Stay in the back. Like, for Christ's sake, Christian Cage is out here. He really owned you once. I'm pretty sure he signed the adoption papers at this point. Like, I'm pretty sure Christian Cage is this kid's dad.
Yeah, it's well, Christian Cage better hope not, because he's about to feud with Nick Wayne. And
I have an update. Penta is at the press conference and he's wearing another fit. I think that's the 4th fit we see from him tonight. What a fashion legend.
Lady Gaga has nothing on Penta.
Toda moda. Hey.
Flobo, who would you like to see Swerve feud with that he could get a win over? I'm putting this is the Swerve podcast. Well, there's already a Swerve podcast, but this is the other Swerve podcast.
Stop putting him over, Jack. I'm not even sure. You know what I mean? Because he's taken so many L's, and I am not as high on Swerve as the panel here. Not in the bad way, but I can't think of what would be the first start for me. You can't go all the way down to the bottom.
The only way that you're gonna make somebody right now, you've been working towards it, and I'm not saying that's what he should go do, but you are building Orange Cassidy for whoever takes that fell from him to be the next big thing. It's not even the world champion. Orange Cassidy has had how many title defenses at this point successfully? I think that's the big win that people are sleeping on.
What about Mox? Mox and Orange Cassidy, no?
I hope so. I hope Mox beats him with. I hope he beats him with whatever that hanging off his eye was. I hope he takes it out and beats him.
Just leaves it hanging.
Takes it out and just beats him with it, you know?
Beats it with his skin. Ew. See, I would quit because I'm like, gross. Ew.
Yeah, fight forever.
So this is the last thing on this. Christopher Strikeleather says Swerve and Keith Lee need to finish their feud. Both of you, yes or no? Do you think they need to finish, or is it time to move on because it's been too long?
I would like to see it finish, but the time has passed for so long, it will just seem reheated, and therefore I don't want to see it. So the answer to his question, yes, but it's too late.
You can't just have them like get in the ring. You had to revive the feud somehow, some kind of storyline that brings them back together because it has been that long. Most of us have ADHD. I didn't even remember until they just brought it up. I'm like, oh crap, that never finished. So you need to do something that teases that people remembering, because a lot of people probably forgot by now.
Something that was supposed to happen and then never did, and then they brought it back randomly, but I think it worked out, was Chris Jericho versus Will Osprey. Jericho performs his own entrance song, and Osprey gets right into the high flying. He kicks out of a Judas effect. Jericho kicks out of a Stormbreaker. Eventually, Jericho is down, and with a defiant middle finger, he gets hit by the Hidden Blade and a Stormbreaker. Osprey wins. Post-match, Sammy Guevara in Inner Circle jacket tries to comfort Jericho, and Jericho shoves him off. Issa, we were gushing about their promo this week earlier. Do you think they delivered?
Yes, 1000%. After their promo, they did the Jericho attack at Rev Pro yesterday. I thought that was genius. The pop that Jericho got was insane. It's like these guys took a match that a lot of people were like, well, a lot of people, not me. You put Osprey in any match, I believe it's gonna be a banger. So give me Osprey against whoever. I don't care. But a lot of people were like, oh, I wish it was somebody that could go faster or this or that. And it feels like Jericho and Osprey, they're like, we're gonna prove them wrong. And I thought they did that in this match. First of all, Jericho singing his way to the ring was kind of gangster. I'm not even gonna lie. I liked it. I liked the way that he started on the roof of the, on top of the thing, and then he worked his way down. Really cool stuff, and we haven't seen that before. You could tell he was waiting to do that. And Osprey, of course, one of the best in the world right now. Like, it's incredible the things that he can do. He needed that win against a legend because he's already beaten what the current best in the world is considered for other people. He needed a legend win on his resume, but I was very shocked at Jericho keeping up with him. A lot of people didn't think that he could. I felt like Jericho had a chip on his shoulders, and I think that Sammy Guevara needs to like chill. Like, he has Stockholm syndrome or something. Like, this man just lost. He sang his way to the ring. Like, give him some room. Like, I would need some room after that. Like, he needed to calm down.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have Stockholm syndrome. Chill, bro.
Yeah. So Flobo,
that's single white female stuff going on here. Like, come on.
So yeah, Flobo, is Sammy Guevara a single white female?
Yeah, confirmed. We just proved it. It's a minute ago. I mean, that to me, I'm with you 100%. Issa. I agree with you. Is Will Osprey the undisputed number one in the world? I think so. And I think the reason going into this one is like, yeah, we know Chris Jericho's a legend, but as long-term fans, we love Chris Jericho. We know what he can and can't do, but you couldn't tell in this one because it felt like they were going hit for hit. It felt they were going move for move. It felt they were going hole for hole against one of the best in the world. I got to say, well, if you're one of the best and you make a legend look like you're on the same level, then you are the best, right?
I mean,
right, Jericho had a purpose today. You could tell he was wrestling with a purpose. It was awesome to watch.
Flobo, we do a show and you have this segment you like to call Phantom GM.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw you a Phantom GM situation. You are a GM of a wrestling show and you've got enough money to sign one superstar in the next 6 months. You sign MJF or Will Osprey?
Will Osprey. MJF, as much as I like him as a talent, I do think he is what my old confidant Jim Alexander would say, a finished product. There's not much that MJF could be. But I was telling this to my friend over the phone during this matchup. What I like about Will Osprey, and I like about any kind of athlete, is that someone who's so good at what they do, they're so elite, and they're unapologetically where they're from, which is very similar, MJF to Will Osprey. But we love the Brits, man. We want to boo these guys. We want to see them get their faces bashed in. I would do Will Osprey. He's a little bit faster, maybe not as strong as MJF over the head, but that's my pick 100 times out of 100.
Issa, did Flobo get it right?
1000%. And I'm a big MJF fan, but I would definitely sign Osprey in a heartbeat if those are the two choices that I'm given. It's funny because aren't the contract coming up at similar time?
They are. That's why I bring it up. Is they are going to be up around the same time. So everyone in the chat, let me know what you guys think. And if you're watching later, let us know in the comments. Phantom GM, you only get to choose one of them. Do you sign MJF or do you sign Will Osprey if you are the Phantom GM?
Also, I saw you highlight that Lego said the winner of Orange Cassidy and Penta faces Mox at All Out. Why does Mox get the bye when his team lost today? And then two people from the team that won has to fight each other.
I absolutely hate that.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're on the same page.
I mean,
I 100%. I get it from like Mox is a star, so you want him at the pay-per-view, but it should be Mox versus Penta on Wednesday, and the winner faces Orange Cassidy on Saturday, is what it
Right.
should be.
Right. That will make, talk about making sense.
I mean, because even if we know it's going to be Mox versus Orange Cassidy at the end of the day, okay, I mean, it's still going to be Mox versus Orange. Like, there's no way Penta's going to win on Wednesday and then, do Penta versus Mox. So what's the that? So I agree. I don't like that. Don't like that setup. It'll be a fun match though. I'm a huge Penta fan. I hope Penta wins. He's not going to. But I think that I have a feeling that Will Osprey is going to become a very rich man in 6 months. As we continue on, House of Black versus the Acclaimed, we got a badass entrance. I'm not talking about Billy Gunn's. I'm talking about the House of Black's entrance. They get a tribute to Bray Wyatt.
I just got that.
Yeah, that's Zach for you.
I'm an acquired taste. We have 3 Famousers to get the win over Brody King. Eventually, the Trios champs hand over the titles, and the Acclaimed are the new champs. Issa, I wanted you to talk about this match. I want you to talk about these entrances, but also you talk about how cool the entryway was for AEW on this show with the tunnel that they walked down and the screens on the inside and how they were able to play to that.
I love the setup. I love the, you know what? And I don't know if we discussed it because I was having internet issues in the beginning. This show was very aesthetically pleasing. It was such a incredible visual. There's like, if you're a hopeless romantic about professional wrestling, there's someone you don't look at to the end. You go like, man, that's so freaking beautiful. The stadium just full, like, and they did the setup very smart. They didn't take a lot of space. They were able to sell more tickets. That obviously helped them. But yeah, I love the entrance. I love the ramp. I love the view. I thought they did a good job. Even the production, the show felt high value. The pre-show, everything about tonight felt very well done, as it should have. It's their biggest show. They want to claim it's the biggest wrestling event presented that way. I thought they did. And you could have put a ring in the middle of Wembley and it would have looked awesome because it's Wembley. But they still, they still went out of their way to make it look a little bit better. I love the entrance from House of Black honoring Bray. I don't know if you guys caught it, but on the pre-show, Renee opened the show with a quote from Bray that had me crying a little bit again. I thought it was good to see all the homages. We saw it on the armbands tonight throughout the night. FTR even bringing up Brody and Jay Briscoe, people that we have lost way too soon. I just absolutely loved it. I love Julia Hart taking the spot on this match. It just reminded me of these people, WWE would not touch Rhea. Rhea needs to be thankful that Randy Orton's not here, because Randy Orton would have already RKO'd the crap out of Rhea Ripley. He's not going to take that crap from her, but it's so funny. You both know it's true.
Yes,
it's so funny that nobody would touch Rhea, who actually looks like she could take a bump. And they take this little girl, they just messed her off. I'm like, what are we doing? They scissor her. That's assault. This was enjoyable. I enjoyed this match. I kind of wanted House of Black to retain, but I'm not going to be mad with the Acclaim winning. The Acclaim is a team that was like on top a few months ago, and then they kind of like fizzled away, but they haven't fully fizzled out of the way. So why not kind of save it and bring it back? But what do you do with House of Black now? That's my question. That's my concern. I feel like House of Black needed the titles on them more than the Acclaim does. We'll see where it goes.
I actually feel like them losing frees the House of Black. I thought they were a little bit tied up because of those titles. You know what I'd like to see personally is I'd like to see Malachi Black start making a move towards that world title. I would love for Malachi Black to say, "Hey, MJF, you call yourself the devil? Well, I don't know. I'm Malachi Black. I'm the devil too. I don't know."
Wow, I thought you were going.
I'm the devil
you
too.
had it. You had it.
It was close, right?
I was there. That's why I'm not cutting promos. Yeah, well, yeah. But I do think that I would love to see that dynamic. I'd love to see MJF have to deal with the House of Black. I think that would be a cool thing. I love the House of Black in general. I feel like that's one of those acts that will get a lot of attention. I think Acclaim needs something to be relevant again, especially how popular they are. But speaking of all this stuff about, Malachi Black going for the world title, I have to do this every single time we bring this up. And I'm going back to my pursuit of Billy Gunn being the AEW champion. I think he needs to be the champ. Billy Gunn, let's do it.
You need to show, Jack.
Come
That's
on.
You mean like the real world champion or the actual AEW champion?
See, that's why I don't like the real world champion.
So how does question, man?
I want to see him. I want to see him unify the titles. I want to see him Chris Jericho things and beat both of them the same day. Look, tell me this: you put Billy Gunn in the ring with either Punk or MJF, and don't tell me that it doesn't look like Billy Gunn could beat the brakes off both of them if he wanted to.
Yeah, 20 years ago.
He looks like he could do it right now. That guy
he does look better than CM.
No, I don't mean looks. I mean actually, me buying a ticket was to see that match. About
he moved a lot faster than CM Punk.
Yeah, you just put Malachi Black in the main event. He said, "Nah, I'm just kidding." Billy Gunn instead. What the heck?
Billy Gunn.
You're on your own with that one, Jack. You're on your own.
No. Well, the trios match is great. I'm not sure Billy Gunn is going for the strap, but the trios match is great. The one thing I didn't appreciate myself is the surrendering of the belts. From Malachi. I would rather them drop it. I would rather them walk away. I'd rather them get mad. Them just going, I respect you, Booker, man. Not my flavor. Not with a team like that went by their own code or what have you. But other than that, I loved it.
Yeah, I think. I'm not a big fan of them handing over the titles either, but I do think that kind of means that's their way of saying, yeah, we're done with this. We're moving on. Because I can't imagine them handing over the titles and then being like, we want a rematch also. I don't know.
Right.
We get to the end. Speaking of people handing over titles, we get to the main event. And this one, I feel like I was invested in this main event. I do feel like if Jimmy was on, he would talk about potatoes and bags and how many potatoes fit into how many bags and one of his favorite quotes there. But at the end of the day, I really enjoyed this. This was two friends that got aggressive, that didn't know whether or not they wanted to go to their roots of being a cheater or not. But eventually it all comes down to Roderick Strong trying to help Adam Cole. Adam Cole saying, nope, not going to do it. And then MJF rolling him up. Of course, Adam Cole was disappointed, but eventually they still maintain being friends. Issa, this one I feel like is a main event that will have a lot of people divided. I love that they're still friends. I feel like you hate that they're friends.
1000%.
The face she made, like, what? You dare ask me that?
Yeah,
you didn't get a little PTSD from MJF match with Daniel Bryan. That was a no contest, and then they asked for extra time. They do a lot of the same things with MJF, and people are not calling it out. I'll call it out. They did this with Daniel Bryan. It was a no contest. 5 more minutes. Okay, we'll go 5 more minutes, and then he cheated, and then he didn't cheat because now he's pussy. He wasn't pussy back then. I don't know. Okay, but the whole thing is, I don't like this MJF. This is not the MJF I signed up for. I signed up for the devil. I love the entrance. I signed up for heel MJF. I was waiting for Adam Cole to turn, somebody to turn. I mean, the story's working. It's bringing numbers. They're the highest rated segment, so I can see why you want to milk it out. But I just feel like it was a lot of the same things that we see, and there was a way to book this to where we end up with the same result without pulling something that you just did with MJF, because it just felt repetitive to me.
Flobo, WWE has found a winning formula with the bloodline and the idea of people who will do anything to win, but then realizing they're stronger together, but they're also being sort of tenseness between them. I don't want to say this is at that same level, because bloodline, I think, is one of the biggest things in wrestling in decades. But as far as a formula goes, is this not a winning formula?
It's a winning formula, but I don't want to compare WWE to AEW. It's my first day here, right? But what makes the bloodline work is because all the familial activities are happening off camera. So when someone talks about honor and respect, you're talking about what it means to be in a community, in a family. You have Adam Cole, who knows that they can ring the effing bell and he can win matches, and MJF is kind of slimy when he wants to be. So there was always that can they coexist kind of formula, and it gets complicated or enhanced by winning the ROH Tag Team Championship. So you know something's going to go down, but you don't know when or where. So like there's almost no code of honor amongst these thieves, comparing it to a story as rich as a bloodline. But yes, the formula does work.
Issa, who's next for MJF? Who would you like to see as the next challenger? Because it feels like
Hopefully-
we can't do Cole again at this point. It doesn't feel like.
I don't know. He needs to find someone that gives him his balls back because he lost them in this whole feud, and it's annoying. When he sat there, was like, "Hit me, do it, hit me in the back with the title." Who is this person? What you do with MJF? Because that's not my MJF. Hashtag not my MJF.
But he was
Whatever.
bullied as a kid.
He can. So who cares? Bully people back.
Wow.
I'm sorry. That's not the that. This is not the MJF. We all whatever. People are liking it. I guess people like friendship. I would never pick a friendship over being world champion, but that's just me. That's on me. Sorry, Jack. I will.
As someone who is a new friend of yours, this is very shocking to hear.
Hashtag, this is why I have no friends. No, but like, who is next? I mean, I told you, I think that I don't think they're going in that direction based on some of the announcements they made on the press conference. But I thought that unifying the CM Punk MJF match that never happened, that we were leading towards, I think that's a money match. But there's a lot of matches that MJF haven't had that I wouldn't mind seeing. Kenny Omega, I wouldn't mind seeing Osprey. I wouldn't mind. There's a lot of matches that you can do. But I don't know how you get him out of this storyline because now they're tag team titles and like champions, and they're still BFFs. So I guess we're just gonna have to deal with him doing stupid kangaroo kicks backstage.
That kangaroo kick was not stupid.
It was so good. It looked so good. Like, let's not even like that kangaroo kick rocked.
That's all good, yeah.
Flobo, to that point, what is next for the world title? Who do you think it's going to be? Do you think they can keep this friendship thing going? I really thought it was going to be CM Punk coming out at the end, and we were going to get the stare down. I was expecting that.
I even put it in my bingo card, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to Chicago next week. That would be the one to do it, and I do think that's going to be on the horizon. But for only this thing to work, you have to give someone a short-term feud with MJF while you put Adam Cole in the back burner. So if I had to guess, if I had to predict, it's going to be our all-time favorite gimmick, the Eliminator Tournament, baby. I think that's going to be next for the title for the short term. And once that's over with, then you'll have the second attempt by Adam Cole.
I was thinking, man, you want to sell tickets to All Out in 1 week, you do the stare down of CM Punk and MJF. Right there, you're done. You've got it.
It's a hot shot, though.
Yeah, a hot shot. This was a thing that started like a year and a half ago. Like,
I mean,
what are we talking about? Hot shot.
I mean, a stare down match next week almost never happens.
You're gonna be like, wow, they're gonna do Keith Lee and Swerve. We're hot shot.
Hot shot again. It's just too fast for me, Jack. No, I mean, stare down Sunday, match Saturday is way too quick. The way that the stories are unfolding here.
That's true. So that said, I mean, that's the show. I like the end of the show. I like that they're still friends. I feel like you've got a lot of mileage out of MJF being a good guy. I feel like even though he's still acting kind of like a jerk, we all loved him though. Are you really a bad guy if we're all cheering you?
I liked him when he was a bad guy. Don't we mean to liking him now?
But that's what everyone liked him when he was a bad guy. Is he really a bad guy if we all like him?
That's a good point.
Yeah, but you still like him now, don't you?
Yeah, I'm very easy to I love everybody.
Yeah, you like everything. You know what? I'm asking it real quick. You like everything.
I'm very impressionable. If you ever see me at the grocery store and I'm in the checkout line and there's like the candy right next to it, I grab everything. I'm very easy to sell.
Did you buy Archie comics, Jack?
Yes. So that really does it for this show, the biggest show of all time. Before we go, first off, I want to thank everyone who joined us. Let me know on scale 1 to 10 what your thoughts of the show were and what you think is going to be the main event of All In, or All Out, I should say. And as we go around the horn here, Issa, where can the world find you online? What were your overall thoughts of the show?
I really enjoyed tonight's show. I told you, I think the match that I enjoyed the least, and it was probably because of personal preferences, was that Golden Elite and the Bullet Club. It wasn't even because they didn't go. I thought the match was fun. It's just what I preferred to have happen didn't happen. But I went with weird low expectations for this show just because the build to it was a little bit questionable. But it delivered. The visuals were beautiful. It was historic. I woke up feeling happy seeing the people, that iconic walkway, and seeing a pack of wrestling fans walking to Wembley. I just love that kind of stuff. I will give it a 7 out of 10, especially because, like I said, I went in with no expectations and I had a blast watching it. and it had a lot of really cool moments. So there's that. People can find me here on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and sometimes post pay-per-views. I don't know. We might be busy next weekend. We got 2 more, guys.
Yeah.
Also, you guys can find me on Lucha Libre Online. You guys can find me on my own YouTube channel, NYC Demon Diva. I just search that everywhere. I'm taking over the world.
And yeah, definitely make sure to check out Issa's watch alongs. Those are always a treat.
Oh, yeah.
Flobo, thanks for joining us. Great to have you on the show. Where can the world find you online? And what was your overall thoughts of the show?
Well, you can find me online right here at Flobo Boyce on that X app, especially on that Threads as well. And I'm on Blue Sky, baby. But the pay-per-view itself was amazing. The scale was there. If I'm a city like St. Louis, if I'm a city like Miami, if I'm a city like Orange County, I would try my hardest to get myself an arena show on that scale stateside. If it can work across the pond, it could work here as well. This could be a watershed moment for AEW. I will give it about a 7.5 out of 10. No, an 8 out of 10 myself. My issues were a little bit more how things were kind of fast or quickly how they ended, but the show itself, the card was strong. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think it was looking back on it, I feel like it was a fun show. Visually, it looked good. I thought the matches were fun to watch. I feel like this one's going to age better than even how we feel about it now. I think it's going to be one of those shows we look back on. Like, yeah, there's a lot of bangers on that show. Big crowd. This was great. Though, even though it doesn't feel very newsworthy, I don't feel like we leave it going like the world of wrestling has changed after All In, you know? So I liked it. I'd give it an 8 too. I think 7 or 8 category. You can find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. I want to thank everyone for joining us on this Sunday for this big show, whether it be Lulu in the chat, Flobo, you're in the chat. Thanks.
Hey, what's up?
Are you goofing off in the chat here?
I'll put myself over, brother.
Clay Ford. I'm like Ron Burgundy. I just read the I don't even MDB 999 in the chat, KOD 669, JR Smith, Mike Rouse in the house, Kerry Johnson, Brian Ulrich, Max Feldman, and everyone else, Huffman. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on this great show. And we will see you guys, of course, on all the Wrestling Inc. shows. Tomorrow, we got Monday Night Raw after show, and it continues throughout the week. Follow at Wrestling for all of your best wrestling news. That does it. This is a